Just ahead, there's another edition of the Florida Roundtable, a service of Florida's Talk and Entertainment Networks. I'm Reagan Smith, Public Affairs Director of the Florida News Network.
And I'm Executive Producer Michael Yaffee.
Michael, a pleasure to be with you this day. A special guest who has been here before, a good friend of the Florida Roundtable, Dr. Jim Clark, a friend, colleague at the University of Central Florida in the History Department. He has become one of Florida's better political analysts, aside from knowing just about everything there is to know about Florida history. So, if you'll stay put, Dr. Jim Clark from UCF will join us as the Florida Roundtable begins in a moment.
Where do you want to go on a vacation or honeymoon? The Caribbean, Europe, Hawaii, Mexico? How about Disney or a cruise? At Superior Cruise and Travel, we've got you covered. We'll assign you your own travel concierge. They'll help you design a custom vacation plan that you can't find online. And the service is completely free. You can't compare the value of this to any other online travel company. We can help you plan a custom vacation anywhere in the world. We even offer payment plans with no credit card required. Now you pay off your vacation on your time schedule. Call now and mention the promo code RADIO and save up to $500. Book your custom trip. Call Superior Cruise and Travel now and talk to one of the highest-rated travel agencies in the country with a 5-star A+ online rating.
800-659-5087. 800-659-5087. 800-659-5087. That's 800-659-5087.
It's happening to you every night. One snores, and the other can't sleep. It seems like there's no end to it. But now there's a quick and easy-to-use solution, a natural solution. Snore Stop. Try it risk-free today. Snore Stop was created and tested by a team of physicians and has been helping couples sleep for over 20 years. It is the #1 selling anti-snoring medicine in the U.S. Snore Stop sprays or tablets are now available nationwide. All you have to do is call. It's time to try Snore Stop and make every night a better night for both of you. Don't wait. Try Snore Stop, the #1 selling anti-snoring medicine in the U.S. spray or tablets. Call right now for free shipping and your 100% risk-free trial offer. 800-960-4918. 800-960-4918. 800-960-4918. That's 800-960-4918.
This is the Florida Roundtable, a service of Florida's Talk and Entertainment Networks. I'm Reagan Smith, Public Affairs Director of the Florida News Network.
And I'm Executive Producer Michael Yaffee.
It is a pleasure to be with you this day, as always, sir. And ahead, we're going to talk about Florida politics and the future and all kinds of things. We have a brand new governor in Florida, Ron DeSantis. Is it the beginning of a new era, or are we going to see more of the same? Well, that's hard to say. The Republicans have now had, we had Jeb Bush, and Charlie, of course, was there, and then 2 terms for Rick Scott, and now we have Ron DeSantis. So we're over 20 years here with Republican governors.
That's true. We were very close to having a Democrat this time, though.
We surely were. But, of course, they're all different. And so I guess the big question in everybody's mind is, how different will Ron DeSantis be from Rick Scott?
Well, it seems that DeSantis is already trying to separate himself from Scott a little bit. He seems to be he wants to be anyway, tougher on immigration, and also really wants to focus on the environment because of the red tide problem and other problems.
And I think that you've pretty well nailed it right there. We can expect, after all, DeSantis, I think, won that Republican nomination to run for governor because he aligned himself with President Trump and took those positions, so particularly on immigration.
It's something that Rick Scott campaigned on, being tough on immigration, but he really didn't do much when he was actually in office.
Yeah, and as the campaign went along, as Rick Scott was running for senator, while he had endorsed Trump and was early backer of him, he put some distance between himself and the president. So I think we're going to see a great deal of difference on at least a couple of the issues.
Yeah, the other thing is DeSantis wants to really focus on appointing conservative judges and has felt like Republicans in the past haven't done as well as they should have in that area.
And I think one of the interesting things is, amongst the very first jobs that he has, are 3 appointments to the Florida Supreme Court.
Right.
This hasn't happened in years, where the governor was about to leave office, and we had justices retiring at the same time. And the question is, who gets to make the appointments, the outgoing or the incoming? And the last time this happened was when Lawton Childs was about to leave office and Jeb Bush was coming in. And but they managed to civilly negotiate and come up with a couple of compromise candidates, and it worked. Of course, there was a lot of arguing went on before that happened.
Of course.
And this time, aside from the fact of the press warning it was coming, and we could have a difficult thing of this between Rick Scott and if there was to be a Democrat governor, didn't happen that way. So we'll see what happens there too. There also is, of course, the governorship changed officially on January the 8th. Mm-hmm. Now, the new United States senators were sworn in for their term on January 3rd, except for
Rick Scott.
Yeah, who remained as governor until January the 8th. Now, speculation out there, because the Senate is so heavily skewed with seniority. When Bob Graham became a senator after leaving the governor's office, the outgoing senator resigned a day early, and Bob Graham resigned the Florida governorship. Wayne Mixon, the lieutenant governor, stepped up for a few days, but the one day made a lot of difference in Bob Graham's committee assignments.
Oh, okay.
And
I didn't even think about that.
This would hold true for Rick Scott, except he didn't want them.
Huh.
He didn't take it. He is sworn in several days behind all of the other new senators who now will be ranked in seniority above him.
Oh,
and
interesting.
So, yeah, and one of the questions you have to ask yourself is, why?
Yeah, exactly. Why?
Because
wanted an easier job? Who knows?
Seniority is such an important thing in the U.S. Senate. Well, we'll pursue that over the next hour as well as a lot of other things. So if you'll stay put, the Florida Roundtable begins following these messages.
Where do you want to go on a vacation or honeymoon? The Caribbean, Europe, Hawaii, Mexico? How about Disney or a cruise? At Superior Cruise and Travel, we've got you covered. We'll assign you your own travel concierge. They'll help you design a custom vacation plan that you can't find online. And the service is completely free. You can't compare the value of this to any other online travel company. We can help you plan a custom vacation anywhere in the world. We even offer payment plans with no credit card required. Now you pay off your vacation on your time schedule. Call now and mention the promo code RADIO and save up to $500. Book your custom trip. Call Superior Cruise and Travel now and talk to one of the highest rated travel agencies in the country with a 5-star A+ online rating.
800-659-5087. 800-659-5087. 800-659-5087. That's 800-659-5087.
In a world of tiny tomatoes and backyard pests, one man and his better half dig deep to save backyard gardens.
Joni, stand by to upload expert videos.
Already loaded, Tom.
Wow, you're good.
You're not so bad yourself.
Tom and Joni McCubbin star in hisandhersgardening.com. Critics rave.
Tom and Joni, they really grow on you.
2 green thumbs up.
Don't miss hisandhersgardening.com.
Wow, your flowers are gorgeous. What's your secret?
It's no secret. It's Bear Advanced.
You mean these blue bottles?
Uh-huh. I protect my beauties with all-in-one rose and flower care. It's insect and disease control plus fertilizer.
Really? What's this 12-month tree and shrub protect and feed?
Oh, I use it on my trees. It kills bugs for up to a year, plus it feeds. It's that easy. Hey, where are you going?
To get my own. I want a great yard, too.
Bear Advanced. Get more from the blue bottle. Always read and follow label instructions.
We are back. You're listening to the Florida Roundtable, the service of Florida's talk and entertainment networks. I'm Reagan Smith.
And I'm Michael Yaffee.
And Michael, as promised, we are joined in studio this day by my good friend and colleague from the University of Central Florida History Department, Dr. Jim Clark. And Jim, welcome back to the Florida Roundtable.
Always a pleasure.
Well, we're delighted to have you with us. And lots of things happening. You, of course, specialize in Florida studies, history of Florida and what's going on. And you have become quite the political analyst, especially in the Central Florida area. But now his knowledge of Florida and our history and what goes on in this state is beyond compare with other historians around here. So we're change coming to the state of Florida, even though it's not as much change as almost half of the voters wanted. but we're thinking that Ron DeSantis is not going to be Rick Scott, and he's offering up some things that are going to bring some change, at least in attitude on some subjects.
I think that's absolutely right, and we're going to see just very quickly. He only has a few weeks to get a $90 billion budget together. So right now, most of the budget is working with Rick Scott's old numbers, and it's going to be interesting to see if he puts more money into the environment, puts more money into education, exactly what he does with $90 billion.
So you actually think he's going to put more money into it? Is there a chance that he might cut spending? Because Rick Scott raised spending almost every year.
I think that he's pretty well locked into doing something with the environment. That was one of his big issues. And frankly, that was one of the issues that separated him even from the Democrats. He's the only one who was in the race last year who was actually cast a vote against Big Sugar, which I think came as a shock to people.
It did. He's pretty much, and I agree with Jim, he's locked into that $90 billion level that's been approved by the legislature the past season.
Right.
But I guess what we're thinking about is how much ability does he have to shuffle those dollars around if he doesn't exceed the cap?
Well, that's going to be the question. He has an extra $1 billion to spend that nobody was anticipating. That kind of because of the strong economy, he has $1 billion, and that can pay a lot of teachers. That can give a statewide pay raise to teachers. That can do a lot of good for the environment. The question is he going to do that?
You know, you talked about how he was the only candidate to really take on Big Sugar. I mean, is that because Big Sugar spends a lot of money here on candidates? And
absolutely. Absolutely. Almost everyone who has ever run for governor in the last 100 years has taken money from Big Sugar. So I think that his stand was more of a conservative Republican stand against financial help for Big Sugar. So it wasn't really an environmental vote, but he made it clear he was going to be a champion of the environment. The other day, his wife said that her big issue was going to be cleaning up the water supply in Florida. So it's going to be hard for them to backtrack now after what they've been saying for 6 months.
That's very true. Aside from the water and whatnot, but do you think we'll see the return of things that happened under Jeb Bush and Bob Martinez, the land purchases for preservation and things like that have kind of gone away?
I think there's an excellent chance of that. As they say, as the cliche says, only time will tell. But I think DeSantis really loves Florida. I get the impression he likes Florida a great deal, and I think that he is going to try to make some differences in places.
Now, I know you're not an environmentalist, but is there actual proof out there to a lot of people that Big Sugar is responsible for some of what's going on in our environment? You know, the algae problem in some of the water and red tide, or is that just kind of like a talking point?
Well, I think two things. One is that Scott appointed a significant number of people to water conservation boards who turned around and in some cases, worked for the industry, did not protect the environment. So I think we're going to be looking over the next couple of months at the appointees that Ron DeSantis makes. And the first indication of that will be a strange thing. First of all, DeSantis has 3 Supreme Court justices to appoint. Rick Scott tried to appoint them and was shot down by the courts. So that'll show some direction. But also at the last minute, Rick Scott made 90 appointments. Wow. Kind of a legacy thing. But these have to be confirmed by the Senate. It'll be interesting to see if Ron DeSantis works against any of Rick Scott's appointees and wants his own people in there.
That is, and I hadn't heard about that. It's kind of surprising. Of course, they're both Republicans, but as you say, the question is going to become, are they all going to survive and make it to a Senate hearing, or is DeSantis going to withdraw some of them? It kind of reminds me of the midnight judges between John Adams and Thomas Jefferson.
Yes, exactly like the midnight judges.
Which got us John Marshall, which made a huge difference.
That's right. So we may have a huge constitutional challenge here 200 years later.
Why is it that the Supreme Court rejected Rick Scott appointing the judges? Isn't that what you said?
It was largely a legal, technical thing.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't, we don't like him or anything like that. It was the technical issues that they ruled on.
That's very, very true. I want to ask your analysis. Mike and I chatted. We mentioned this and didn't really have a whole lot to say about it. You're the expert on this. We have 20 years of Republican governors now. You had 8 years with Jeb Bush, 4 with Charlie Crist, 8 with Rick Scott, and now we're going to get 4 more. But these are very different people. And I wonder if you have given any thought to the differences that we may be seeing as times have changed over the last couple of decades.
Yeah, I think, one of the things that just jumps out at you is what we thought at the time versus what we think in hindsight. For example, when Jeb Bush was governor, we thought he was one of the most conservative governors in the country. Today, he looks like a moderate. When Charlie Crist ran for governor, everybody said, wow, he's really to the right. But in retrospect, he looks like a liberal.
Yes.
And with Rick Scott, you knew he was a conservative, and that's what you got.
That's what you got, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the days, and as a matter of fact, Charlie Crist sat not at this particular table, but in different. He's been on this show many times, and one of his nicknames was Chain Gang Charlie.
Yes,
because when he was in the Florida legislature, he was an advocate of bringing back road crews, taking the prisoners and telling them they have to work on road repair and highway upkeep.
Sure.
And so we used to, as a kid coming to Florida, we used to see that. You'd see the sheriff's office out there and the fellas in leg irons and chains cutting down the grass. And Charlie thought that was a great idea. We ought to bring it back.
So
yes.
He was the tough on crime guy.
He was. Well, he was Attorney General first.
Yes, right.
And, in fact, defeated Buddy Dyer for the office.
He did. And as I recall, and he was also the Education Commissioner.
He was everything, yeah.
When there was an open office that looked like it was a step higher,
he would move right up.
Charlie ran for it,
yeah.
And that's so now he's back in he's in the Congress where he didn't want to go in the first place years ago because he didn't like Washington. But in any event, well, I think that the sea change is heading our way, and as you say, we're going to have to wait a little while here to see what happens. Now, I want to also address Rick Scott and we talked to the Bob Graham story when Bob moved from governorship to the Senate. He resigned the governorship, and Wayne Mixon became the governor, and so that Senator Graham was able to take his office in a timely fashion and got a day or two up on the other incoming new senators. And it's hard to explain to people the importance of one day in seniority in the United States Senate.
Exactly. And I somebody needs to tell the inside story here of the relationship between Rick Scott and his lieutenant governor. As you point out, a number of years ago, Bob Graham resigned as governor, I think 3 days early, to become a United States Senator so he could get a leg up on seniority. And Wayne Mixon became governor for 3 days. You get an oil painting in the Capitol, and you get your name listed as governor of Florida. Yeah. And in theory, you could move into the governor's mansion, although nobody's ever done it on that short a time. But and in this case, Rick Scott gave up seniority in the Senate, which is going to hurt him down the road in terms of committee assignments, prestige, a number of things, just to deny his lieutenant governor being governor for 3 days. Yeah. So you wonder what's going on there.
You really have to do that, too. And, of course, as I recall, the lieutenant governor, who's from the Miami-Dade area, was Governor Scott's choice. Is it Jennifer Carroll?
Right.
Was the first lieutenant governor for most of his administration, and she ended up having to resign. I just don't know. The other thing is that I'm hearing that Rick Scott doesn't particularly care about the seniority business because he wants to be the senator. He's got to be there, but he's got higher ambitions that would not be so important. You mentioned the committee assignments, and you're absolutely right. He could end up serving on the committee for the preservation of storks I actually got connected to them one time when I was trying to reach somebody, and I'm not.
This is a real thing.
We laugh, but it's a real thing. I ended up with that particular committee, and
you're absolutely right. I don't see Rick Scott becoming a fixture in the Senate. First of all, he's 66 years old, which was strange because he ran all those ads about Bill Nelson being so old. Yeah. Bill Nelson is 7-8 years older than him. Yeah. But he's not going to be there for 20 or 25 years like some of these, Mitch McConnell and some of these folks. So, I think, there's an old saying that everyone elected dog catcher immediately starts planning their route to the White House.
All right. We'll come back, talk some more about that. It's time for us to take a pause along the network line. We'll remind you that you're listening to the Florida Roundtable, a service of Florida's talk and entertainment networks. I'm Reagan Smith.
And I'm Michael Yaffee.
Our very special guest this day is University of Central Florida historian and political analyst, Dr. Jim Clark. We'll be back in a moment.
Want to fly somewhere? Looking for cheap flights or cheap tickets? Then call. That's right. Call the low-cost airline travel hotline now for prices so low we can't publish them anywhere. Low-cost airlines has all kinds of cheap travel deals. Fly domestically and save up to 75%. You can even fly internationally and save even more. Yes, fly anywhere in the world and save a lot of money on your plane tickets. We'll even save you money with cheap travel deals on hotels, rental cars, even complete travel packages. So don't book your tickets until you call us first for the absolute cheapest prices on U.S. and international airline tickets and hotels. Call right now for prices so low they can't be published. Travel experts are here 24/7 to help. 800-754-4531. 800-754-4531. 800-754-4531. That's 800-754-4531.
Florida's boating environment is always changing. New sunsets, new experiences that you won't find anywhere else on Earth. But one thing that never changes, boating while impaired by drugs or alcohol. It's illegal in the state of Florida. Boating under the influence will land you in jail, or worse, kill someone you love. It's just simply not a risk worth taking. Learn more about Florida's boating laws at myfwc.com. Brought to you by the FWC Division of Law Enforcement.
Your yard's days of being picked on are over, thanks to the science of Bear Advanced Brush Killer Plus. Its penetrating formula is specifically designed to kill hard-to-control brush, like kudzu, poison ivy, poison oak, and wild berries, roots and all. And the concentrate product even kills stumps, so your yard never has to worry about being bullied. Bear Advanced. Get more from the blue bottle. BearAdvanced.com. Always read and follow label directions.
Terrorist acts and shootings are often described as great tragedies. They are not. We live in a world so concerned with being politically correct that they're afraid to call evil what it is, evil. Man's sin nature is as old as the Garden of Eden. Many love to blame culture, poverty, or lack of education and opportunity as the problem. They may have a good or bad impact, but the big problem is sin. Acknowledging our sin nature will show us our need for a Savior who changes us from within. That Savior's name is Jesus. He came to die for the sins of all who will acknowledge their sin. Faith in Him strikes a mighty blow at evil. So quit calling man's evil acts a tragedy. They are evil and God hates it. Yet thankfully He loves us in spite of our evil and sin. Jesus not only forgives us, but gives us the want to overcome evil with good. This is Brian Wright, speaking right from my heart.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, you want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
From Pensacola to Key West and all points in between, you're listening to the Florida Roundtable, a service of Florida's Talk and Entertainment Networks. I'm Reagan Smith.
And I'm Michael Yaffee.
Our very special guest this day is Dr. Jim Clark from the University of Central Florida History Department, raconteur, political analyst, all those kind of things. And we're taking a look at some of the things that may happen to famous names from Florida in this coming year and the days ahead. And as we finished up that last segment, we were speculating a little bit about Governor Rick Scott and his not resigning office early in order to take some seniority in the United States Senate. And one of the speculations is that he really didn't like his lieutenant governor, didn't want him to get the honor of being governor for a week or whatever. The other is that now Senator Scott is not really concerned about becoming a longtime fixture in the United States Senate. And the question is, why wouldn't he care about not chairing the Committee for the Preservation of Historics? I would say.
Well, you know, the less responsibility you have, the more time you have to run for president. He doesn't have to worry about, big things. He can travel around the country. He's going to have so little seniority that he's not going to, be bothered by lots of, committee assignments. So I think that, he clearly has his eye on something else. It's a lot of people have done it, but it's somewhat difficult to go from running a state where you have thousands of people, in this case, tens of thousands of people working for you, to becoming a United States senator with a staff of maybe 40 or 50, and very little power, really.
I'm just trying to picture Rick Scott running for president. Do you actually think he would have a chance if he ran for president? I mean, I just can't imagine it.
Here's the question for you two. How many times 8 years ago did you say Rick Scott had no chance to be governor?
It's true. And I had another thought as I was listening to you, and Governor Claude Kirk came to mind. And while he was serving his one term, and what a character he was.
Yes.
I many panels with him out at UCF, and you can't repeat the things he said while you're on the air. But he so desperately wanted to be vice president.
Yes.
He ran all over the country trying to create an image for himself, and he was hoping that Richard Nixon would pick him in 1968 to be the vice presidential candidate. And had that happened, here is a man who very well, nobody ever accused Claude Kirk of money laundering while he was the governor of Florida. But Nixon obviously picked Spiro Agnew, who and he ran, and they won the second term in a big landslide. And then Kirk gets, Agnew gets accused of all these things in Maryland, and a part of his deal to keep him out of jail is that he's got to resign the vice presidency.
Yeah.
Well, Claude Kirk wanted that office.
He did. In fact, long forgotten fact, one of the, again, this is 40 years ago, one of the states, it might have been New Hampshire, created a primary for the vice presidency.
Ah.
And he entered it. I think it only lasted one time, but he entered this contest for the vice presidential nomination. He lusted after it. And, of course, then after that, he went and ran for president a couple of times and Senate. He must have run in 10 different elections.
Yeah.
Kind of the Harold Stassen of
Florida.
Florida.
It's interesting that anyone would want to run for vice president, because wasn't that like the most thankless job? Or John Adams said it was the most useless job ever. So
yeah, John Nance Garner said it was not worth a pitcher of warm spit.
We love you, but go sit over in the corner and shut up.
Yes.
That's what the president tells the vice president in almost every administration.
You're right.
And, but obviously, I mean, we're speculating. There are things that Rick Scott could do, and it may all be adding up to nothing. He may have decided already that he wants to spend 2 or 3 terms in the Senate and then retire, and he just figures the committee appointments will come later. I don't know.
Yeah, I just really think he has been good at winning elections in Florida, and he has still hundreds of millions of dollars, which could really launch a presidential campaign, and he has been amazingly good at spending money. There's an old line about John Kennedy's father, Joe, in the 1960 election being urged to spend more money and saying, I'm not going to pay for a landslide. Rick Scott, in his first 2 races, got 49% of the vote, and in this most recent one got 50%, and did not pay for an extra vote than what he needed.
More than he needed, yeah.
He has a really good sense of this. I might have, if I had $300 million, I might have poured in another 10 or 20, but he spent exactly what he needed in 3 different elections.
Wow.
Do you think Rick Scott's going to be kind of a partner to Trump as he's in the Senate? Do you think he's going to be kind of right in line with what Trump wants?
Well, we saw in this race, Mike, that he put some distance between himself and Trump over Puerto Rico. I think Rick Scott's going to do what's best for Rick Scott. He'll be 72 when his term ends. It's the same year if Donald Trump wins re-election. It'll be the same year that Trump leaves office. So I don't think that Rick Scott is particularly going to worry about Donald Trump.
Oh, okay.
Very interesting. One of the things that you said, too, and they differed on, and we can talk about this, the Puerto Rican thing. I've seen analysis so far, and they say that one of the things that happened, there was all this talk about the huge increase in the Hispanic vote in Florida this time around, and apparently it didn't happen.
It didn't happen, and everybody thought there was going to be not only a wave of Puerto Rican voters, thousands have moved up, especially to Central Florida from Puerto Rico, but also that they were angry and they were going to take it out on the Republican Party. And we did not see any of that in the election.
Yeah. Didn't Rick Scott actually do pretty well with Hispanics?
He did pretty well, yeah. I think he surprised everybody. And in a race where he only won by 35,000 votes, anything could have made the difference.
Yeah. One on the turnout. Now, there was one that did come about that surprised me in recent analysis I saw. One study showed that the 18 to 21-year-olds, which historically have been, ever since the Nixon years when the 18-year-olds first got the right to vote, they are the worst for turning out of any age group that votes. And this time around, I saw one report that said 18 to 21 actually got a 61% turnout, which would make it the highest in the history since they were allowed to vote.
Yeah, a lot of that, though, came from colleges. Most election supervisors have set up precincts, like at the University of Central Florida. There's a precinct there. All you have to do is walk across campus and cast your vote. So you don't have to have a car. You don't have to do anything. You can register easily out there. So, college students voted in significantly higher numbers this time.
Is there anything? I mean, I'm guessing that they voted majority Democrat.
Well, that's the assumption, and I think that's a fairly safe assumption. But again, Rick Scott was in a position where if he got 35% of that youth vote, combined with North Florida and other places, conservative Republicans, he was going to win.
Yeah. It really was an interesting election. And if there was a single factor that jumped out at you as the dust settled on that night, maybe not a fair question, but then I ask lots of questions that are not. What jumped out at you as this thing finally settled?
I think the Gillum race and the Nelson race jumped out at me. And I think it's going to take a lot of analysis to figure it out. A lot of people have offered theories. But the fact is that in a Democratic year, these two guys lost.
Yeah.
This was, as you know, the Democrats we saw picked up, 2 or 3 congressional seats. They won state house races, especially in Orange County. A number of Republicans were swept from office, but the two people at the head of the ticket couldn't pull it off.
Yeah, and I really do wonder about that, Mike.
Well, I was just going to say, do you think one of the reasons is because Gillum was kind of more on the left than even most Democrats who have run for office in Florida?
I think part of that, a number of people have speculated that once you start using the phrase tax increase in Florida, you're dead. That people don't understand it. One of the newspapers called it a tax, an income tax on corporates. Which was deadly.
Hang on a second. We'll come back to that. It's time for us to take another pause along the network line. Let me remind you that you are listening to the Florida Roundtable, a service of Florida's Talk and Entertainment Networks. I'm Reagan Smith.
Michael Yaffee.
Our very special guest this day from the University of Central Florida History Department is my good friend, Dr. Jim Clark. And if you will stay put, our conversation continues following these messages.
Have you written a book? You can become a published author with Dorrance Publishing, the nation's oldest publishing services company. Countless authors have trusted Dorrance for nearly 100 years to bring their book to the market. Our professional team will edit your text, design your book pages, and create an appealing, eye-catching custom cover. Plus, our authors benefit from a custom book promotion marketing campaign that makes your book available where people buy books, like Amazon and brick-and-mortar bookstores. So make this free call right now to claim your free author's guide to publishing. Don't wait another day. Take one step closer to realizing your dream of becoming a published author and seeing your name in print. You've already written a book, so the next thing to do is make this free call right now to Dorrance Publishing and get your free guide to publishing. Call right now.
800-485-6003. 800-485-6003. That's 800-485-6003.
Have you found yourself? Here are some ways people try to. A lot of successful people are goal setters, but too often when we reach those goals, we still feel empty inside. Goal setting isn't the answer. Education, we know, can enrich our understanding of life, but speaking with a couple of men that graduated high in their class at MIT, they told me they still felt empty. Education isn't the answer. Work. When you pour yourself into your work, you understand more about yourself, but even when you're successful at work, you can still feel empty inside. No, work isn't the answer. Relationship with friends, family members, and coworkers. Okay, you're getting close. While all these things are important, the key to finding yourself is having a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. Ultimate meaning is found in healthy relationships, beginning with Jesus and then with our fellow man. This is Bryant Wright, speaking right from my heart.
Visit rightfromtheheart.org and click Devotions to read the daily devotion and send to a friend.
We are back. You're listening to the Florida Roundtable, the service of Florida's Talk and Entertainment Networks. I'm Reagan Smith.
And I'm Michael Yaffee.
Our very special guest this day is Dr. Jim Clark from the University of Central Florida History Department. He's become quite the celebrity political analyst, especially in the Central Florida area. And Jim, it's always a pleasure to have you with us. I know how busy you are, and before we forget, let us say thank you.
Oh, my pleasure always.
Well, it's always great fun to have you with us. Gwen Graham, one term in the Congress from Tallahassee, father who is probably, at least for people who have lived here in any amount of time, the most famous Democrat alive in Florida today. 2 terms as governor, 18 years in the Senate, the state legislature. He did many, many things. She recently held a little conference and sounding as though she is going to continue to be around. And I wonder if you've looked at that, and what do you think is going to become of Gwen Graham?
I don't know. You know, this is an interesting thing. With the defeat of Gillum and Nelson, if you start to say, gee, name 3 leading Democrats in the state, I think it's almost impossible to say, oh, he or she would make a great candidate in 4 years or 2 years or whatever. I think is really difficult. I can't think of anybody who just jumps out and you say, boy, that person's going somewhere.
Yeah. They don't seem to have a really strong bench. And the possibility was there because Andrew Gillum really believed he was going to win.
He really did. And you have to wonder if what's known as the Bradley effect came into play. Named for Los Angeles Mayor Tom Bradley, who ran for governor, was ahead substantially in the polls and then lost. And the Bradley theory is that people don't want to appear to be racists when pollsters ask them who they're going to vote for. Mm-hmm. So they say, I'm going to vote for the black candidate just to avoid follow-up questions and then vote for the other person. So
when you're, in the privacy of your voting booth, you don't have to tell anybody.
Right. So it's very, the polls had been off a couple of years ago in Florida. Florida, for some reason, does not poll well. So that may have been part of it. Who knows? But the Democrats now are left without a leader. Gwen Graham is probably the best known and has the resources to mount another campaign. Yeah. Her family is kind of a Rick Scott of South Florida in terms of money and assets.
Yeah.
Well, Andrew Gillum says he's not going away, and there was even some talk for a little bit that maybe he'll run for president. Do you think that's possible, or do you think some of this corruption investigation in Tallahassee might end up hurting him in the long run?
Well, too many people have said, well, Scott Maddox was indicted, another person was indicted. It's over with. The FBI investigation is ongoing, and there's still a chance that he'll be caught up in this. He still has not had a reasonable explanation for the free tickets he got to Hamilton. And I think by now everybody in the state knows how much they cost.
Yes.
and for this trip to Costa Rica. So I think he could have some struggles. But, in the wake of a loss, people tend to look for a bright lining. But if he couldn't carry his home state in a Democratic year, what makes you think he'll do better nationally?
Yeah. All right. Now, we're down to about a minute and a half here or so, and I'm going to ask you this question. As you look ahead through the coming year, number one, do you have a wish list, or do you have a prediction of something you think is going to happen over the next 11 months here? I know that's not fair either, but I did it, didn't I?
My goal is to still be around 11 months from now, if that counts, and to have you buy me lunch at Tibby's. But those are the two primary things on my list. I think that by the end of this year, we'll have a pretty good idea of where 2020 is going. in terms of Trump's popularity. One of the things that you know, being in the radio business, is that generally speaking, it's cool personalities who last the longest, not hot personalities who last the longest. And, the question is, can Donald Trump keep this up for another year? And I don't know the answer to that. But will any Republicans come out of the woodwork to challenge him for the presidential nomination? Going to be interesting.
And we do have to stop. But John Kasich still has his committee together because I get emails from him almost every day, even though he's not going to be the governor of Ohio much longer. But anyways, Dr. Jim Clark, it is always a great pleasure to have you with us. We always coming away feeling more knowledgeable about Florida when you're here. So, again, thank you so much, and we want to do this again soon.
Thank you very much for having me.
I'm Reagan Smith.
And I'm Michael Yaffee.
And Michael and I will be back with a closing thought on the Florida Roundtable following these messages.
Are you or a loved one turning or about to turn 65? Then now's the time to start thinking about your health care needs, specifically Medicare. If you're new to Medicare, there are a lot of options to choose from, and the whole process can be confusing. But the licensed insurance agents at Easy Medicare can help you find the right Medicare plan based on your budget and health care needs. Call Easy Medicare today and they'll guide you through the process. Whether you're completely new to it all or looking to improve on an existing Medicare Advantage or Medicare Supplement plan, Easy Medicare can help you find a plan that best suits you and your health care needs. Visit easymedicare.com/radio. EasyMedicare.com is a non-government site. It is an affiliate of eTelequote Insurance, Inc., a private licensed representative of Medicare insurance organizations with a Medicare contract. Sales agents may be compensated based on your enrollment in a health plan. Receiving quotes through our website and from our licensed insurance agents is always free, and you're under no obligation to purchase any services.
800-957-6213. 800-957-6213. That's 800-957-6213.
It's happening to you every night. One snores, and the other can't sleep. It seems like there's no end to it. But now there's a quick and easy-to-use solution, a natural solution. Snore Stop. Try it risk-free today. Snore Stop was created and tested by a team of physicians and has been helping couples sleep for over 20 years. It is the #1 selling anti-snoring medicine in the U.S. Snore Stop sprays or tablets are now available nationwide. All you have to do is call. It's time to try Snore Stop and make every night a better night for both of you. Don't wait. Try Snore Stop, the #1 selling anti-snoring medicine in the U.S. Spray or tablets. Call right now for free shipping and your 100% risk-free trial offer. 800-960-4918. 800-960-4918. 800-960-4918. That's 800-960-4918.
In a world of tiny tomatoes and backyard pests, one man and his better half dig deep to save backyard gardens.
Joni, stand by to upload expert videos.
Already loaded, Tom.
Wow, you're good.
You're not so bad yourself.
Tom and Joni McCubbin star in hisandhersgardening.com. Critics rave.
Tom and Joni, they really grow on you. 2 green thumbs up.
Don't miss hisandhersgardening.com.
Employ Florida offers resources and services to help you find employment.
Hi, Gary here. Employ Florida helped me improve my interview skills, plus write a great resume. I attended networking events with many employers and other industry professionals just like me. With the workshops and training found at employflorida.com, I was able to land a great job in my field.
Job resources, real results, hired. Employflorida.com. That's employflorida.com.
We are back. You're listening to the Florida Roundtable, a service of Florida's Talk and Entertainment Networks. I'm Reagan Smith.
And I'm Michael Yaffee.
And always a pleasure to have Dr. Jim Clark with us. Insightful, points from both sides of the spectrum, and well-rounded man, and I dare say probably the most knowledgeable Florida historian that I have known in all the years I lived down here.
There is no doubt in my mind that he is. I can't think of anyone else who knows more history about the state of Florida than he does.
My favorite story that that Jim likes to tell is when Warren Harding was the president. And, of course, he's a Republican, but he loved Florida, and he came down here, even though he has a short term dying in office. He came down here, and the people who were still building Miami got him out on the golf course, and they got a baby elephant to be his caddy.
I want to see that today. I guess the
pictures.
Animals rights activists would be upset if we did that today.
They probably would. I don't think anybody complained about it then, and it got an awful lot of attention.
Of course.
And but in any event, well, Jim is always working on another book, usually related to Florida, and as we go along, one of his favorites, my favorites of his, is Florida and the Presidents.
Yeah.
And he's got a chapter on every president and the relationship to Florida. And that's always I always learn something.
There's always plenty to write about when it comes to the state of Florida, especially when you're talking about the changes over the years.
Yes.
I mean, just since in my lifetime, how much Central Florida has changed.
Oh, yeah.
It's just unbelievable to think about.
Well, population, we could do a whole show on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Of population and all those kind of things. I did have one other note here that I wanted to get in, a study that has recently been completed. Listen, adults in the United States are not getting taller. We're about the same. The average is 5'8", 5'9" for the guys and 5'3", 5'4" for the women. But the headline says, just heavier.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Does anyone really doubt that, by the way?
The average waistline now, the men's average waistline, 40 inches. 40. Women's waistline, 39.
Wow,
now,
pretty close together.
Yeah, and it's just, we're talking about probably almost 70% of the population approaching being obese. And I find that terribly disturbing.
Yeah, and then they talk about the different causes of it, and who knows, it's probably a combination of things. Obviously, we have plentiful amounts of food in this country, which is really a good thing when you think about the history of the world. It's a good problem to have too much food, but it's also, lack of exercise. Some people, play video games all day now and stay on their phones and the internet instead of exercising.
There it is. And I don't know, how was it your house, but when I was young and came home from school, many of us turned on the TV and you sat there until dinner time. Unless mom was there or dad and said, get outside and play.
Yeah.
And so from the TV, we have migrated into the computer and, as you say, the video games, and we sit. And there's no activity. And I think that's a big key to where we're going. And, of course, obesity brings on heart attack and all kinds of other problems. Well, something for you to think about. Maybe we'll do a show on that one of these days. Thank you for your time this day. I'm Reagan Smith.
And I'm Michael Yaffee.
See you next week on the Florida Roundtable.
You've been listening to the Florida Roundtable, a news and public affairs presentation of the Florida News Network. The views and opinions expressed during this show are solely those of the participants and not necessarily those of this station's management, ownership, or sponsors. Please email your comments to reagansmith@fnnonline.net.